All right, we're good. Hey there, everybody. It's Andy Herover with another edition of My Side of the Fence. I am here today with Dianne Lane.
Hello.
Hello. Who is running for Manassas City Council.
Correct.
Is this your first run for office?
It is. I've done a lot of volunteer work in the city for the last 10, 15 years, but this is the first council run, first political run, yes.
Were you doing a lot of volunteering like for the city itself or for you're running as a Democrat?
Correct. I am running as a Democrat. I am current vice chair of the Housing Advisory Board. I spent 3 years doing Parks and Rec. I was on the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Task Force that the city had back in 2021 as the housing lead. I've also been vice president of Bull Run Unitarian, which I'm a member of the congregation there. So lots of things.
Well, that's good. So do you seem to serve in a lot of housing roles. Do you have a background in that, or is it just an interest?
It's just an interest. So the Housing Advisory Board was appointed last October. And I had applied for that based on the work I had done with the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Task Force, where I was housing lead. And then
it's a bad word now.
I know, but it's still true. But Bull Run is a member of Voice, which is an interfaith organization. And we did a housing summit series for a couple of years, learning more about housing, how we could help be effective. We actually hosted former Delegate Maldonado's first housing event in our basement at Brew back in, I think, 2022 it was. So it's been an interest because without housing, Maslow hierarchy of needs, right? Housing, food, basic necessities, you can't succeed. So it's been an interest and a passion.
Yeah, I mean, housing is not something I know a hell of a lot about, but I just don't see, the city's going to spend $6 million to build affordable housing in arguably the wrong place.
So
you can't walk anywhere. You can't, that place is kind of far away.
So it's $3 million, right? Because it's a $3 million loan, which is going to get paid back. And if it goes according to plan, that payment will go into the Housing Trust Fund. So that payback will go back into the city, making more affordable housing available. In terms of walkability, yes, Buchanan has not done a great job developing that neighborhood. I agree there. But we're talking about people who are going to have cars, people who work in the city, teachers, firefighters. So they will be able to move elsewhere within the city and get places. There are early discussions about having PRTC at a bus stop there as they build out at the airport and then at a stop there. So it is, like many things, it's a work in progress. Was it the perfect solution? No, but it is a step forward.
Yeah. It's the city. The problem with decisions like that, and sometimes you just can't avoid them, right? Is that they stick around for a long time. It wasn't until pretty much recently that, the Boys and Girls Club has been there for a long time and was underutilized for years. City has now built, a park there, and that they have lots of pickleball. So presumably people will show up to play pickleball. Kids will show up to play everything else.
Right. There's a court there that footsie or something. It's not a sport I know, so I can't say. But you've got, there's a lot going on back there. You've got the dog park. You've got the pickleball, the skateboard park. You've got the pickleball courts, the Boys and Girls Clubs, the Winter Branch Trail. They've built that out more to make it more walkable and increase places for people to go and get into
extend that
nature
thing across, so it comes out near Grand Avenue, because the city owns the right of way.
And maybe someday, maybe someday.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. We tried to do that when I was on council, but a bunch of people objected. I don't even remember why it was contested. I don't. So what for you, it sounds like you're super passionate about housing. What other stuff, or like when you're out talking to people, what are your policy positions on things that you tell them?
Right. So there are 3 points that I'm focused on. First is housing and affordability. And that includes not only for first-time buyers, but for downsizers, right? We don't have a really good solution as a city, as a state, and really as a country for downsizers who want to go into a single floor house. It's presumed, oh, everyone's going to move into an over 55. No, that's a poor policy decision, right? So finding that whether you call it a missing middle or available housing for folks who want to do just that. The second is the redevelopment. I am a fan of the Center Street redevelopment. I've been an advocate and participated in all the community activities and the discussions. I've been going to the ARB and throwing my 2 cents in, as well as the Planning Commission, as they've been going through that with the public-private partnership. And then Mathis Avenue, the redevelopment of Mathis. These are generational opportunities. This is going to make Manassas 2075. So they are investments. They're long-term. They're not going to bring immediate returns, but much like when you and John Ray did the Battle Street, right, and added the sidewalks.
Well, it wasn't exactly John Ray, but he was on the council.
But you all fought to make a walkable downtown and Battle Street. That took a while to take off, and there were people who fought that too. So there's
that was literally so I'm a center-right Republican, which means I don't have much use for what's going on the right. And, I'm of the belief that, the Democrats, just like the Republicans, have kind of retreated to, the ends of their bands. But when I proposed that project, I also gave a cost and an estimated payback time. So, given the food taxes and the expansion of the restaurants, because they were going to be on those wider sidewalks, the estimate from the staff is the project would pay for itself in about 8 years, and it did it in 6. So that's the kind of stuff, I like to see, like, what's this going to cost? What do we think the impact's going to be? Stuff like that.
Right.
I love that kind of stuff because I think it makes, ultimately, someone in elected office may just swallow hard and say, you know what? I know it doesn't make a lot of fiscal sense, but I'm a fan of the idea. And I'm open to that. That's Center Street is exactly that. Fiscally, does it make a lot of sense? No, it doesn't. But in and of itself. But because we paid an awful lot of money for that dirt. But is this what we want to do to kind of stretch out Old Town and provide more commercial opportunities and more housing and, a new sort of, the hotel? I mean, that's an opportunity. You're right. It is just like the hotel that was on there before. That was a generational opportunity. It was built in the 60s?
Yeah, somewhere back there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm a fan of those things, and I can swallow both ways. I just want it to look like the renderings I've seen on Facebook. I don't love them, and not only because they're different, okay? Before anybody out there starts, it's not just because they're different. It's because it doesn't seem like they're massed way too close to the street. And that was a criticism of the Journal Messenger newspaper project, that it was massed towards the street. I agree with that.
Yeah, so what's good about Center Street is they've applied all of those lessons learned. So the ARB is now, and the developer are looking at 12 and 14-foot setbacks from the street for wide sidewalks, walkability, so you can have 2 people passing each other without having to step into a planter. So that's a good thing. The renderings that you're seeing, that I think we'll see updated changes to that over the next week to 2 weeks as they've update the massing and the fit form and massing portion of that. And listen, I'm about numbers. I was a program manager for a government contractor for years and retired in February. So
congratulations.
Thank you. So numbers and data. I'm also a black belt, which means show me the facts, show me the data. Let's make decisions based on data, not on emotion. So bringing metrics, bringing data, what's the ROI, what's the return on investment, all about that. But to your point, sometimes it's just, this is an opportunity for the city to control its own destiny, to set the future for our grandkids. We're not going to necessarily see the benefit in 20, 30 years.
No.
It's going to be for our grandkids. So that to me is a worthwhile investment.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be, because we don't have anybody on the hook to build a hotel, do we?
So right now,
the way track.
Yeah. So right now, the way it's staged is MMG. I think it's MMG is the full company name. They've incorporated an LLC as Center Street Development,
like you do.
And right, and they are in with right now phase 1A. So they are doing the design and development for the garage and for the multifamily apartment building.
Mm-hmm.
The hotel design work will start once the vendor is identified. They are in discussions with 2 of national vendors, is what they were last told. And that will be part of the next phase of the of the development agreement. So that will be so this development agreement goes through March of 27, and they have to have the design work done and the zoning done for both of the apartment building and the garage.
The zoning should be easy.
So, and the zoning has actually been interesting because they're having to defer to the ARB, and the ARB has been doing a lot of discussions with the developer to get the design and the massing right so that it is, again, applying the lessons learned from the Messenger Place building. So the hotel is coming. It is the next stage because of the parking. They want that parking garage in work in some form of development so that there is a place for the valets to put the cars.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Because you really I don't feel like you want to build a parking garage on a hotel lot because it's way too expensive to go down.
Correct.
Yeah. And it can't be like 10 floors.
Yeah, the numbers I've seen is like I think between 90 and 110 rooms for the hotel. So it's a boutique style, right? Probably something similar to what's over in Haymarket, the Hilton that's over in Haymarket that is I forgot what it is. If it's
has a restaurant.
Yeah, the one on Washington Street.
Yeah, the restaurant's not bad.
Yeah, they just changed cooks again, so I haven't been since they put the new chef in. So,
because I know the guy that started it, he was like sous chef at Little Washington, right. I think. Well, I'm sorry because I went out there and he was the head chef, and it was delightful.
Yeah, they changed. I want to say back end of last year, early springtime. They switched. He went off to do his own thing, as chefs do, and so there's somebody new. And I haven't been out since there. There's so many good places to eat in Manassas, and around that Haymarket is not on my flight path to, kind of go out for.
The only reason I went there is I have a college buddy that lives kind of in that neck of the woods.
Mm-hmm.
Not like it's that far from Manassas, but if you're going outside of Manassas, you need a passport.
Well, that's how I feel about Maryland. Going outside of Manassas, I'm okay with. But going into Maryland, I need a passport.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. But yeah, he lives kind of up near there, and we met there, and I like it. The food was great. A good time. Where I went for the first time ever last Monday or Tuesday was Loom. Now, I've had some folks tell me like they're not wild about the food. I don't know. We got appetizers. It kicked ass. It was really good.
Yeah.
Those wings, those things are so good. And we had bao buns and just, it's all just sort of like finger food stuff. But I haven't had an entree, but that stuff was good.
Yeah.
I thought it was really solid.
Yeah, we were there last Tuesday or Wednesday with the meetings downtown. I've taken a meeting. My husband, where are we eating tonight? I'll meet you here. I'll meet you there. And I had, if you like spicy, I had the spicy edamame.
Oh, yeah.
And they, they light up your tongue.
Lit you up.
Yes, yeah. But yeah, their stuff is really good. Their spring rolls are good. And I love their cocktails. Their cocktails are inventive and really tasty.
I had 1 or 2 cocktails. I didn't even kill it. But yeah, I thought that I took the wings home. I mean, those things were tasty.
Yep.
And I've been to Voodoo Brothers. I've been there once, I think, for no particular reason. I've been there once. We had an office happy hour there, and I thought it was good. We ordered a bunch of. Again, we weren't for Alpha's Happy Hour, you don't order a bunch of entrees. But what we had, I thought was pretty good.
Yeah. Voodoo Brothers is a good place. First Fridays typically we'll start there, go for a cocktail, then move over to someplace. Usually I start out on the patio over at Monza's because it's good to see people and people watch and make connections and so on. So, but Voodoo Brothers for cocktails. Their brunch apparently is very good. I've not done brunch. That's on my list.
That's just on the weekends, though.
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah. Because I do like beignets, and they have some really good beignets.
I mean, any fried dough is good.
Yeah, it's the universal round the world solvent.
It's like fried potatoes. Come on, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about one of the things that I like to ask people when they start talking about housing and, affordable or attainable or whatever description you want to use. In the city, the taxes go up regularly. Tax bills go up regularly. And this year, I think it's 5%, something like that. They're always
3
around.
to 5. Yeah,
they're always around there. That matters. That matters.
Yep.
My dad pays real estate taxes of $1,000 a month. That's a lot of money. And so one of the things that I like to ask people about that is, how do you think that figures in? When taxes go up 3-5% every year, that is a direct impact to the cost of housing. So how do you sort of jive tax increases like that? Because those are direct. They're not like, well, groceries are more expensive. No. Land is more expensive. So how do you jive that with, the push the city has for affordable or attainable housing? Because, it goes up, that stuff, it goes up more and more. And, once your property values go up, and that's always good, of course, right? But if you're trying to live there and your tax bill goes up every year by 3 to 5%, that's not making it more affordable.
Yeah, it is a challenge because we want to pay our staff a living wage. Health insurance this year went up, I think 12 or 14% for staff. And that's a huge input into the operational budget, right? Nothing went down in price. The materials thanks to tariffs, thanks to supply chain issues, the city manager and Ms. Bergeron, I believe, provided a cost of, here's what this cost us 4 years ago for wires and resistors and different things that the city replaces. And here's what it costs now. And it was, in some cases, 30 to 40% higher. So it is a challenge when you're balancing all of those things together. Now, the city did reduce the tax rate 2%, and it also got rid of thankfully, the sticker fee, which we haven't had stickers on our car forever. Right. But during the budget discussions, this discussion was, does the city lower the tax rate another penny, which some on the council were advocating for, which affects homeowners, or do we get rid of the city tax sticker, which affects everybody? So everyone who owns a car in the city benefited by getting rid of that $25 a car cost versus another penny in getting rid of the sales tax, which only affected homeowners. So there are a lot of trades along the way.
Good.
So, and in terms of affordable housing and being able to stay in the community, it is tough. I mean, we've become more urbanized. We've become part of the greater, DMV area for just because we've gotten bigger. And, we've got now a professional fire staff that, 10, 15 years ago, we were staffed largely by volunteers. Now who are professional and trained, but not paid. Now we're paying professional firefighters almost all across the board, which is a new cost. So as the city has grown, its costs have grown because of the way, for safety reasons and other reasons. So I don't know if I'm getting to what you're asking about, but I think it's not a simple answer.
I feel like no, that's not fair. The city also continues to add and create more obligations. Community center. That's a cost of choice. It was never a requirement. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm just saying it is what it is, right? So, but we still hear a lot of talk about affordable housing, yet, we're spending a lot of taxpayer money to build affordable housing. Taxes continue to go up. To me, that's a little bit of, cognitive dissonance when, and I understand sometimes you swallow hard and you have to raise the rate. I've been in those meetings, right? But I guess I'm saying it frustrates me a little bit that, it doesn't seem like we're really connecting the dots on affordable housing.
So affordable housing in the city is, frankly,
we don't have any.
The Landings project, right? The Landings project is really going to be probably it, because we don't have the land.
Because those townhouses in Georgetown South are like $400,000.
Yeah,
I only found that out 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
that's unbelievable.
Yeah, so Meg has shared, Meg Carroll, who's the property manager over there,
right,
has shared, their homes are going, if they've been rehabbed, remodeled, 380, 410 to your point.
Yeah.
And even rental unit, rental costs. It is, so the Housing Advisory Board has set a definition of affordable for the city as 100% AMI, which is average median income, and it uses the Prince William, Manassas Park region for that definition. And in the city itself, there's been a drive. Councilwoman Ellis repeatedly is talking about ownership and ownership and ownership. 100% agree. The challenge is making that affordable for people to get into that housing. So one of the things the Housing Advisory Board has been talking about, and within our final report, is there are funds that we share with Prince William County, 10% transfer tax. Is that the right percentage? 40% because we're 40,000 people, or 10%, excuse me, 40,000, 10% of it. Is that the right formula given the cost of housing has gone astronomical?
Do you still get CDBG money? Community development block grants?
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
So but that goes to the county or something, right?
So that's the 10% that's coming back to the city, right? And that's based on our population. Right. That's not based on the cost of housing, right? The state has just, so back in 21, 22, the Chief Keen and then at the time Liz Vi Gossman had done a pilot project for allowing folks who work for the city to buy in to the city. And they had one person do it. It was $25,000 in order to help them with their closing costs, et cetera. The state has now set up some programs to make that easier. They've also increased the dollar value. So that's something that the Housing Advisory Board will be looking at if the city recharters it. Because right now what we are chartered to do is to give them a plan. So we're giving them a 1, 3, 5-year plan with goals, objectives, and success criteria for each of those years. And part of that will be looking at, okay, what is the state doing for funding, for money? What are we getting in that people may not know about? So one of the things the housing coordinator, Trinity Waldron, has agreed with us on is one of the first things we've got to do is get better access to information on the website for if you're a first-time home buyer, if you're a renter, if you're older and need assistance, what do you qualify for? Right now, it's all PDF files and static. It's very hard to find information. So we need to make that more accessible so people are aware of what they can qualify for and how they can be helped.
Now, the stuff they qualify for, those are state plans?
So there's state money. There is from Virginia Housing that's available. We're learning more about how to partner with them because they have a tremendous portfolio of programs and grants. In fact, that's the Landing. Good Housing is getting a grant from Virginia Housing as part of their financial package to do the funding to develop the Landing opportunity. So there's information out there and there's money out there. It's just understanding where to ask and who to ask and how to make it understandable for people who need that opportunity. Closing costs. A lot of time people can get in and pay the mortgage, but they can't get the closing cost money together and so on. So first-time home buyers programs, there's the state program, there's federal. The city hasn't even gotten a chance yet to look at, or the Housing Advisory Board hasn't even gotten a chance to look at the housing bill that just was passed by Congress. So what does that do for us? How does that change HUD? What does that mean for money? So those are all future things that have got to be, the threads have got to be pulled and figure out how do we make it work for the city.
Trump ever signed that thing, or he just sit on it?
He sat on it. Yep.
Anyway. Well, I mean, it sounds like you're super passionate about that.
It is. I mean, I've got a 26-year-old, and they live in Canada. My husband was born in Canada, and they went to university up there because it was a lot less costly for them to go to school up there, both Canadian rates and Canadian dollar to U.S. dollar.
So they have Canadian citizenship?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And they, going through school, the most I paid to go to university up there for them, their senior year was $19,000, including room and board. And that was Canadian. So take 25% off. Right. Right. So they elected to stay up there, and they're struggling with housing up there as well in the greater Toronto area. But coming back here for them to do housing, they would have the same issues in terms of the cost and accessibility. Whereas in the city in Toronto, they're in a walkable community. Everything's walkable. They've got 4 different types of public transit. So they don't need a car, which is a cost they would have to bear if they were down here. Yeah. So there's a lot of trade space and a lot of different things that say, yes, we want to make it better for her friends who are still here. Right? She's got a whole posse of kids that she went to school with who want to stay in Manassas. Some are teachers, some are crossing guards, and
I mean the problem in Manassas is that other than cars, it's not a highly connected community at all. We were looking at the bike master plan or something about 10 years ago, and one of the primary extensions was down 234. And I said, just, where you tore down that golf place, put a graveyard, because if you have people on bikes on Sudley Road, someone's going to die. Mm-hmm. So it's just that part of it, to get access to the stores and whatnot. It's just not very accessible, and there's almost nothing you can do about it at this point. It's such a high volume, road. Yeah,
but there is the bike lanes that are available, the walkability around the communities that are in like Wellington and Virginia Oaks, that are close, but for the outer edges, the edges of Old Town, it is a challenge. Yeah. I do agree, it is a challenge, but hopefully they're increasing sidewalks and getting more, so that there is at least a pedestrian opportunity will help. I mean,
crossing those main streets in Old Town, you got to lace up your shoes and be prepared to run for it. It's just not. No, if people are, waiting for the lights and whatnot, it works pretty well. But, you find that like in the city, drivers are much more used to being around walking and cycling. Mm-hmm. Out here in the suburbs, you just don't see it much because it's mainly cars. It's always been that way. Yeah.
There are blindness to pedestrians, I would agree, in certain areas that, people are just Ashton being one of them. That is a definitely a hidden racetrack.
Yeah. When we try to go across Ashton to go to the diner over there, mm-hmm. That's a long, lonely walk across that road.
Yeah. And it's, I think one of the things that, people have been talking about the roundabout and complaining about the roundabout that's coming in over at where 28 and everything comes together is to give those pedestrian safety zones, right? So if you're a runner or if you're a bicyclist or even a walker, you've got a place where you're not trying to hop across, 3 lanes of traffic or 4 lanes of traffic. So you'll have those safety zones to stop and be saved.
Yeah, the roundabout over in front of Georgetown South, I don't love, mainly because the road and lanes are too narrow. there was a lot of talk when they built that. Like, we want to do it just like the north part of Grant is. It's got that median, and there's trees and all that. But on the north part of Grant, if a car pulls over, you can pass it. Now, you're not allowed to pass cars that are in movement. But, if someone's pulling over in front of their house or something, you can just continue. Not true on the south side. Not true at all. And, when the problem is that the road there is so narrow, there's a stoplight at the road that goes up to the museum on the south
Prince William
side.
Street, yep.
Yeah, and it'll back up to the service station. And, if public safety vehicles have to get through there, there's nowhere for the people that are already in traffic to go. They can't pull over. The lane's one car wide. I think that the roundabout's working fairly well. I've been to Europe, and there's roundabouts everywhere.
Yeah.
And some of those I think are a little nutty. The one that goes around Arc de Triomphe in Paris, it's like 8 lanes wide. I don't know how you do anything in there.
Yeah, I went to school at GW in DC, so DuPont Circle to me is the original roundabout that everyone goes, oh my gosh, in the movie American President, did you get stuck on DuPont Circle again? Yeah. Because I couldn't get out of it.
Get out of it. Yeah, in fact, the last time I was in Maryland, I think it was up in Bethesda, I think. I got stuck in a roundabout and basically just had to put on my blinker, close my eyes, and wheel to the right. It wasn't quite that dramatic, but still, I got stuck in there for, I don't know, 2 or 3
revolutions.
Yeah. But I think especially in places like there, it's worked out relatively well. Now there's an argument about, well, why do we have any lights? There should be a roundabout in Prince William Street, roundabout in Center Street. No, please. That's enough. But it does make it look more accessible.
Yeah, I think the roundabout in Georgetown South area is something that will have to be monitored as the Ashbury houses get come online.
They're going to have to make changes.
And, how much do they use the what I call mentally the back entrance, which is takes you out on Main Street over by the high school where the mailboxes are. So I think it's again going to be one of those things. Monitor, take a look. What does the data show? What's the how many car trips are going through, et cetera.
Yeah, it's a challenge. I had the chief of police on it. We talked about that a little bit. He's generally a fan, but my specific criticism, and he kind of agreed. He was like, yeah, that could have been better, but the project as it stands was put together to maximize connectivity. Cars, bikes, walkability. And that shared youth path, there it is.
Yep.
No getting away from that. So how's the campaign going? Are you knocking doors?
Knocking doors started back in June, doing about 3 to 4 hours a week. We'll really start kicking in September because a lot of times people aren't home or they're looking going, oh my gosh, September? I was like, yeah, just trying to get it in as much contact as we can.
Yeah.
It's been good meeting a lot of different folks. There's Meg Carroll's hosting an event for us over in Georgetown South to meet the community over there and hear what their concerns are and their voices. And I'm meeting with some of folks in some business owners in Old Town who've been following my campaign page and my comments on the Center Street development and said, hey, can we talk to you? And I'm like, sure. I'll talk to anybody. I've told people at the doors, if you think of something, you want me to come back, grab a cup of coffee, I'll bring a bottle of wine. I'm flexible. Let's talk. It's talking to more people brings more ideas and more solutions. I am not going to be the smartest person in the room, right? It's going to be a combination of what are the residents saying? What can we afford? What's the best in terms of the CIP? What's going on with the different things, the state laws, all the changes, and finding a balance, right? So, in terms of the campaign, I am new to campaigning, as we talked about earlier. But I like to think that I'm accessible and willing to talk with and have a conversation, just about with anybody. I'm with you. So.
Such as it is. Yeah, I mean, it's campaigning's a lot. It really is.
Yeah, one of the reasons I retired, again, as I said earlier, program manager, I work for a government contractor. There's a lot of ethics laws and OCI issues and other things. And I just did not feel like I wanted to have to balance the two sides. And I had seen enough and been enough time in grade that it's like, yeah, I've seen these mistakes before. We've been reorged, 4 times in 5 years, right? Typical government, contractor.
So you worked
merge.
For a contractor, not the government.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah. Spent the last 20 years supporting the Air Force in various capacities, and just said, it's time for me to go. I've seen the mistakes. I know I want to run for office. I'd started making my plans about 18 months ago, and going to city council meetings, going to EDA meetings, trying to learn more about what's going on. I sat through the retreat this past January, going through all the budget and the budget cycles. And then I'm usually in the council chambers on the right-hand side, 4th or 5th row back on the aisle, because I need the leg room. And it's just trying to get ready and be prepared to understand what the requirements are. And it's because it's not just the 4 hours a month, as for sitting in council chambers. It's reading all the paperwork. It's going to all the outside commissions. It's the liaison to the city, to the residence-based commissions, and so on. So trying to get a feel for all of that.
Yeah, there used to be a lot more, as I understand it, all of your meetings are like committees of the whole, the council committees. Mm-hmm. Previously, that was not the case. You had city council committees that had 3 council members, I think, each. It's like finance, land use, stuff like that. And those committees could take up serious time. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, you have to read all of the stuff that gets delivered Friday or whenever they deliver it nowadays. It took a lot of time. Some weeks, 20 hours. There was a lot of development my first term. So I ended up meeting with some fair number of people about different projects and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's a lot. It's like, I don't know, I feel like that it's a better job than school board, maybe, but the only worst job is the HOA president. I mean, I know some number of people that have done that, and they're like, I will never do this again. Never.
Yeah. So I was an HOA vice president multiple years ago, back when we lived outside the city. Would never do that again. No. But I've been in other leadership roles where it's like, oh yeah, that's pulling teeth, or no, just no, that's painful.
Yeah.
So again, I think being in public service, I've no desire to be, the next delegate, the next senator. This is it, right? This is really, it's focused on my community and working within the community. So there's no grand vision to go off elsewhere.
I felt the same way. Danica started off as a delegate, right? And now she's a senator. And she seemed, I interviewed her last year, and, she does the work. She really does.
Yep.
Maldonado, I felt like I had a chance to chat with her a couple of times. I felt like she did the work. Someone's running for her seat. Is that
Sonia Vasquez Luna, current council member?
Yeah. I don't know. Even when I was in council, I really wanted nothing to do with those state jobs. Those are horrible.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it seems like you need to be either independently wealthy or retired.
Right.
You got to go down there to at least 2 months a year.
Yeah, you're talking about in some sessions it's 40 days, and in the others it's the 60 days.
Yeah.
And it's $18,000 a year, maybe 19,000 at this point.
I think they gave themselves a raise.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going into effect yet. And you could be right, but it's not a lot of money. And the per diem, if you're married, or if you've got kids, you're away from your kids, and you're living in a hotel room or some, short-term rental.
Yeah.
So no, thank you.
Yeah, I just don't. That, and there's like, once you get above local level, party control comes into it. And I don't think I'd be any good at that. I'm a guy, like, I split my tickets when I vote.
Mm-hmm.
If I feel like there's a better Democrat or, whatever, I'm going to vote for the person that I think does the best job.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't feel like I would thrive in the Capitol with the Republicans yelling at me, or the Democrats, whoever. I'd probably run as a Republican, but I just don't think that would fit, because I want to vote. My primary concern is what's best for Manassas.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that makes the leaders mad. It just does.
Yeah.
So it's not a thing for me.
Yeah, I agree. Both Senator Rome and Delegate Maldonado have been huge advocates for the city. I mean, and Senator Rome is the legislative breakfast she was at, I believe it was last week, talking about the data center bills and trying to get the tax loophole closed on for the banks. Yeah, and so that's what she told us, is that's what the finance committee, they want to make sure that it's not a double dip, that if they're being charged a franchise fee, if we tax them over here on the data center, it's not a double hit. So finance committee said, well, when you come back, we'll tell you what the answer is.
We'll hash it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I need to get her back in here. Although she's a rough interview, because she comes prepared. Like, she wrote newspaper articles about me when I was serving on the city council. And so we know each other. We're pretty familiar with one another.
Well, I read you when you were in the Journal Messenger. You and Leanne Best. That's how long I've been around. You were in hard copy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so,
I found that first column I ever wrote for the Journal Messenger last week. I have it's framed, but it had fallen down behind something, and it's not something I'm all that interested in. But reading it, it's like, I feel like I could submit that article today.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was all about redevelopment in Old Town. So, but no, I enjoy her. But I never did get a chance to interview Delia Maldonado for no particular reason. She said she would do it, and then our schedules just never sort of jived. I mean, she's still busy doing stuff down there. Not now, maybe, but back then she was.
Mm-hmm.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah, I don't want to drive to Richmond.
Don't understand why.
Yeah, not every week. No.
Yeah.
I go a couple times a year, but no.
Yeah, I drove down there with another housing advisory board member. We went down to a conference that the NAACP was hosting, and we paid our own nickel. We wanted to go down and hear what they had to say, and talking about affordable housing. And that drive was, hit Fredericksburg coming back at 4:30, 5 o'clock. And it's like, thanks. Get me out of here.
Yeah, it's horrible, and it's becoming, one of the reasons that I didn't run for a third term, the main reason, was that the politics in the city got too political. Yeah, before it was just six people serving together, and I knew that, like, John was a pretty conservative guy, and I knew that Mark Wolf was not so conservative, but it was never like something wasn't going to happen because that person is on a different party.
Mm-hmm.
It just didn't happen. And it became clear that, like, that was the future. And stuff in the city, we had also really stopped making any sort of progress, primarily because the Great Recession.
Right.
And I just said, you know what, I'm good. I'm good. I don't want to fight with other political parties, even though that's part of the job. But I didn't want to do it. I really did.
I'd like to think that, particularly at the city level, we can always find something in common, right? And something that we can agree on. With the housing development downtown, I've been advocating for green roofs. what's called an intensive green roof, which is where you have park benches and trees and things like that, but what they call an extensive green roof, which is in essence low-lying 2 to 4 inch deep plants that will help with keeping it cool, keeping it the urban heat island effect. And, as I pointed out, they can all be pollinator plants, which, is a passion of Councilwoman Ellis's. And, that would help our bee city, our designation. So there's ways to, find things that, yes, we can agree on this. Let's make it work. Let's figure out how to make it happen. Yeah. So you just have to be willing to meet the people where they are.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but those are all sort of relatively new ideas for a place like Manassas. We also haven't had a ton of development in a number of years. We have some isolated sorts of things, but yeah, the MIFCO project, that's going to be an opportunity.
Absolutely.
And another parking garage, that's necessary. You look at all those cars over there, right, where the hotel used to be. And you're like, damn, this is a lot. Now, some percentage of them you can look at and say, you could have parked in the existing garage, right? But not all of them, probably.
Yeah, and I will say, as a member of Bull Run, we have an older population, so for them it's been a huge advantage to be able to park much closer and just be able to walk across the street and get into Brew, because you've got to climb the stairs just to get up to the vestibule, because it is not an ADA accessible building. It's a historic building with a lot of challenges. So having that parking has been helpful. Well, but adding the parking garage, and for both the apartment building and housing, and for housing, the apartment building, for city residents, and for the hotel, it's the way they're talking about segregating it and making it safe for folks to use, and putting an amenity space on the top of the hotel, on the top of the garage for the residents to use. There's a lot of innovation going on with what the developer's been talking about. So it's been interesting to watch it evolve and be part of the cheap seats and see what's going on.
Well, I mean, be careful. Get elected, you might not be in the cheap seats. No, if you get elected, you ain't going to be in the cheap seats.
Well, this is true, and that is the plan. The plan is to be elected and to do the things for the city and for the residents, and make good decisions so that our kids, our grandkids, are happy to come back and work in Manassas, happy to live here. There's something going on for them to do. My campaign is live, work, play, right? Affordable, work with the redevelopment. One of the reasons Jill and I got together was CTE. I'm a huge fan of CTE programs. I grew up in New York on Long Island. Back there, we called them BOCES, where, the second half of the day, kids went off to learn cosmetology. They went down to the garage and learned how to work on cars. They went to nursing or PA assistant type of things. Those are all skills and jobs that are going to pay good money and be around regardless of what happens with AI. So Jill and I both are strong proponents of that. And with Parks and Rec, I love our parks. I mean, we've got over 20 beautiful parks. The community center has been, there were people who were skeptical, but it's
still skeptical.
Still, well, yeah, but it's got a lot of use, a lot of rental, a lot of programming going on. The Cookies with Santa that the Parks and Rec hosted was a tremendous success. The co-venture with the Baptist Church for the Easter Bunny and the egg roll. So there's a lot of community building going on around that community with that community center. I'm a little concerned when they start doing the construction for the firehouse to the side where the Wawa is, how that's going to balance and shake out.
That's going to be a ton of money. A ton. But it's in the right place, as opposed to the current new one. It's basically in Prince William County.
I think so. I know that they did studies on safety and response time. And I have to believe that people smarter than me made the decision based on what they needed for response time in order to serve the other side of the tracks.
I don't believe it. I'm kidding with you. It is just basically in the county. But I know that, when there's a crisis, we can, pull from Stonewall, from Manassas Park, stuff like that. They cover each other.
Absolutely.
It's fine.
Nearest first responder.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, I know a lot of the volunteers over the years, and they like their current station. And I don't know what'll happen to that station when the city builds that other new one, though. Might be an opportunity to redevelop. I don't know.
Yeah, right now. Well, right
There's
now
houses right next to it.
Yeah, right now they just did the renewal for the folks for, I think it's $1 a year or whatever for Hudson Hall, so it can be maintained. I know as a as a member of the Democratic Committee, that's where we do our fundraiser in the springtime. Other groups do different fundraising events. There's a church that uses it for its Sunday service.
Where is this?
At Hudson Hall, the volunteer fire. What was the fire in front of the Judicial Center?
Oh, the Volunteer Rescue Squad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking the one over by the water tower?
No, I thought maybe you're talking about that, but if you're talking about the one right next to the courthouse.
Yes, the one next to the courthouse.
That's the Volunteer Rescue Squad.
Yeah.
But I don't think they have any cars in there anymore.
No.
I think the city managed to get them all into Company 1.
So that's one of the things I'm meeting with, as part of trying to learn more about the under the covers, is meeting with Mr. Burke. He very kindly made an offer to all the candidates to, give us half hour of his time to talk about different things. Chief Keene made the same offer. So want to talk a little bit to understand a little bit about more of that and how that all ties together and plays together. Because particularly, again, moving from a volunteer firefighter force to a paid professional force. I don't understand the staffing model, so I want to understand that better, because I ran teams that ran jets, right? And so we had 24/7 coverage, we had different shifts. So I just want to understand. So that's part of getting ready and trying to be prepared for day one, is learning those kind of nuts and bolts things.
Well, we rewrote the law that governs that one of the last years that I was in office. And it's kind of like a shared effort model.
Mm-hmm.
So we will hire enough full-time professional firefighters to cover X shifts. And then the volunteers will cover X shifts. And the volunteers were variously successful in doing that while I was there. I have no idea where it stands now.
Yeah, the last number I heard was there, I think, 2 volunteers actively supporting right now. But it's the nature of the time box, right? If you are working in the city and coming home, it's 2 hours to commute. Whether you take VRE, whether you're driving, taking a bus, it's a big commute. You've got your family, if you've got kids in that soccer practice and everything else, there's just not that availability, and you've got to sleep, right?
Well,
so
the other big hurdle is that the city, when we rewrote that law, we required our volunteers to have the same training that firefighters and medics in Washington, D.C. have. And that was a huge change, because now you're talking about, it's not just like a couple of guys who have taken the basic courses and, they work the overnights or whatever, and maybe they work here in Manassas. It's like you have to have a vast amount more training and able to run with the squad or whatever. And what happened is that as time went by, it was less like a group of community volunteers, although some of those guys did exist. More and more of our volunteers came from guys who were professional firefighters someplace else.
Right.
And then they would show up in Manassas and volunteer. I'm grateful for every one of them. It's great community service, and it also saves the city a fair amount of money. But like all the places around, Washington, D.C., I feel like that volunteer model is just fading. You can't keep up.
Yeah, again, it goes how much time, where you're working, what you're doing, and even our professional staff. Chief Mills at the offsite said the amount of training that they have to do continuously. And even some now, they've changed the requirements. One of the classes that they used to be able just to do a recert on by doing a refresher, now, even though you've had that training for multiple years, you have to take it as if you were a newbie. So he said, it's eating up a lot of time for folks.
Well, I mean, it's going to make it so expensive that it's going to, either taxes are going to have to go up and up and up, or it's going to have to eat into other services, or we're going to have to do something different.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, don't tell the private equity people, they'll start doing fire departments.
Yeah. That's, the fire levy has, I think, held steady this year, but had gone up last year.
It went up a lot
to accommodate all the changes and
it's
and the overtime and everything else.
Yeah, and it's so staffing intensive. People are expensive.
Yeah.
Because the thing to remember is, if you're not happy in Manassas, you can drive 10 minutes, outside of the city and get a job in Manassas Park or Prince William County, or drive a little further and get a job in Fairfax. I mean, those municipalities are literally always looking for public safety staff, always.
Yeah, and fortunately, and you can go back to your discussion about taxes earlier, the ability to pay competitively in the police department in particular had finally been fully staffed and able to hold, and then Prince William County increased their pay rate by,
of course they did,
I think like $12,000 to 90 something. That's big. That's a big big jump. So exactly what you're talking about. If we don't do those retention activities, then we become the training ground, the junior high and high school for the folks to get the training and go elsewhere.
I mean, we found ourselves in a position in, somewhere probably late aughts, where we had this huge gap in the middle. We had like lots of officers who had 1 or 2 years of experience, none of these guys, and then the guys who have been around for a while, 6, 8, 10 years. And you had
the missing middle.
Yeah. And like those guys, as the chief then explained to me, like, they're your sergeants. Those are the guys you want around when you have a guy with 2 years of experience who's in, a dark street. He's afraid for his life. Those are the guys, those experienced guys, those sergeants.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you need. And it was a real problem for a bit there. I mean, we fixed it with money, but that's what happened. I mean, it's painful, and all the council members hate it, but you have to do those staff surveys to find out, like, are we matching up with these other guys?
Right.
Because if not, our guys are going to leave. Yeah,
you definitely, benchmarking, human resource benchmarking is something that you've got to do continuously across any of your key industries and your support staff, your IT orgs, et cetera, because you are at the whim of the market, and you need to offer something that is more than just a hearty handshake.
Yeah, because some of those guys that left told me, like, I really don't want to do this, but for a 5-minute commute, I'm going to get like 10 grand more. That's a meaningful amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, well, I'm going to make $500 extra a year.
Right.
No, I'm going to make $10,000 a year. And you can't, I don't blame them. I would have done the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to take care of your family first.
Well, you do. But, that back then, those pay studies were pretty contentious because everybody knew the answer, just like they know the answer now. And you don't really want to hear the answer, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
So you better pay attention to it.
Well, and that was the issue with the healthcare, right? The healthcare costs, they had, when Mr. Burke and the team had done the assessment, they said, it's going to be 7 to 9%. Well, when it came in, one plan, I think I recall, was 12 and the other was 13, it was double digits. Mm-hmm. So there was a gap. And if they had pushed those costs to the employees, they would have lost their COLA, their basically their cost of living adjustment and their merit to pay pay for the health insurance gap.
Yeah. Yeah. Diane Bergeron is still there?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. She was on staff when I was there. She wasn't the boss, but she is now.
Yep.
That's amazing. So what else do you want to tell everybody?
What else do I want to tell everybody? I don't really have anything that says other than who I am. I'm been a resident of the city since 1998. Lived in the same house for the last year. My kid graduated Osborne, so I feel like I'm almost ready to say I'm a longtime city resident. Almost ready to say it. Yeah. I've seen the evolution of the city, the biker bar, and, when Lou Harris had the first Opera House Gourmet and Loy had the insurance agency.
Yeah.
Right. I've seen the changes. I've seen the, how things have changed. We talked about it earlier with Battle Street. I just think there's so much potential in this city, and there's so much opportunity for us to continue to grow and serve that I want to be part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. One thing that is a sort of a weird dynamic is, so you've got Old Town, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even back a decade, people were super worried about the impact that like Two Silos
right
was going to have on Old Town. And I guess I don't see that. I don't feel like, people, it's clear that like young people are drinking less, right? And that is what it is. But Two Silos is a destination.
Right.
You don't just sort of end up there by accident someday. And Old Town, we have some stuff that we're getting ready to do, and I feel like things there are okay. But you think Two Silos competes with Old Town at all?
I think that the restaurants out there are interesting. If you haven't been to the Speakeasy Reveal, that's an interesting concept, and I would love to see the hotel when it's built do something similar, right? Meredith House maybe with its reimagining if it goes
right.
that way.
They're closing, aren't
yes,
they?
Yeah. The membership is closing, so I think there's opportunity to make that, if he chooses to go down that path, a destination restaurant, which would be amazing because it is such a fascinating space,
right? It looks like it for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Two Silos as a destination, I'm the bands and the music, and I think they've tried to make it family accessible. And it's a small, compact space. So to me, it's a bit like First Friday, except it's just every day.
It's every day,
right? So you're going to have people rotate in and rotate out depending on what they want to do that day, whether they've got a babysitter or whether the kids are in a good mood or they're going to go play cornhole or whatever. The Old Town has the opportunity, I think, to do with its festivals and its fairs, the things to bring people in and to explore and show what we've got. I'm looking forward to seeing, that pull to jump over, I always get Main Street, Filigree, getting people to shop at Filigree and cross Main Street, that psychological barrier is what I'm really excited for the multi-family landing and that garage, is to pull people to that end of the city and to start doing more infill that way. You've got empty storefronts in the Messenger building that could be served. If they do the expansion on the sidewalk, that could provide opportunities for those small retail stores to reimagine themselves. So those are all good things, and I think that will add vitality to the city.
Yeah, and Grant Avenue is like a moat. You just, I think the street's too busy for most pedestrians in our area, to get across to the Marias building or something like that. That just doesn't seem like it's something.
Yeah, so I will say that when I go to the olive oil store, because I like their olive oil, I park. on that side of the street because it is
Yep.
safer to park there and walk across the street or park on the same side and, just go in. When Super Bowl happened in February and we had the snowcrete and those huge mounds of
Yeah.
snow, climbing over those snow blocks because not everyone was a good citizen because they couldn't be because it was snowcrete.
It was like concrete.
It was hard to get into those spots and then cross over. And they had folks out there going, wait, stop. There are people trying to cross. And there were lots of us.
Well, I was out of town when Snowcrete happened. And so I had to go through a window to get into my house. And then, I managed to move the little lock or whatever, but I fixed it. And then, get a shovel out of the house, go back out the window and dig the front door out.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like concrete.
Yeah.
That was unbelievable.
Yeah. I was fortunate. I found someone on Facebook who had a little bobcat and I hired him. He came at 10:50 at night and dug out I have a 2-car driveway over in Wellington. He dug out my apron and put the snow in the street. Didn't block any of my neighbors in. Didn't do any of the damage to their efforts. But if I had not done that, we would not have gotten out because I'm in a cul-de-sac, and the cul-de-sac was, we're last on the list, and we live with that. We understand it, but this event was a whole special thing.
I had never seen anything like that.
No. I mean, the back, what was it, 2012 or 2016 when we had that 36 and then, another 10 on top of it.
That was a lot.
At least it was movable.
Right.
This stuff was
no.
No.
And it was worse for us because the first little batch that came through that was actually snow, I broomed that off the walkway. Well, that was the soft underbelly that might have cracked. So when the rest of it came through, it was just straight ice on top of the slate. It was horrible. Horrible. So you're running with Jill Spall and...
So we're running as independent. There's no slate this time. So some people are used to slates, right? Because of the way we were going to slate prior to Sonia deciding she was going to run for delegate. So Jill and I do some things together to try to share costs and to manage the costs like mailers, post office. And so she's running, I'm running, and Helen Zarita, who is a community food activist. So community liaison for CFH. So we're running, and then there are 3 independents. The one hasn't reported any money.
3 independents? I do not know this.
Yeah.
The one guy that lives on
Colin Turner.
Portner, yeah.
Yep.
And I got a message from him. In fact, I owe him a phone call, but I think he's the only one that's reached out to me.
Yeah, so Colin Turner is running as an independent. He started his political activism with Sable Bennett. There's a gentleman by the name of Eugene Doc Brown. He's not shown any money, so I'm not sure what his status is.
Right.
And then Lynn Forkel Green is running as an independent, though she's last served as a Republican.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Councilwoman Ellis.
Terry's running, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I met the new chair of the Republican Party about a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
And he seems like, he's a good Joe. He worked for the federal government for a long time, various capacities or big corporations. But I don't know if they have anybody else running or not.
So as far as I have heard and seen, the only Republican running in the city right now is Ms. Ellis.
Yeah.
And there's not been anyone showing up, at least in any literature, for delegate.
Right.
And with Mayor Davis Younger stepping down at the end of the year, I know have been looking to recruit for a mayoral candidate and have not, I've not seen any traction on that.
Well, didn't Wolf say he wants to run?
So Mark has said he's running. So it'll all depend on how it shakes out for the position. My understanding is there's 3 ways this could go. One is the council will appoint an interim mayor until until a special election, whether that's in a primary in June and then one in November of 27. They could go to the courts and ask for a special election immediately, or there could be an appointed, someone appointed from, open it up as a appointment as a caretaker role until 27. So it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out.
Oh, I can't get far enough away from that stuff. So who is the chair of the Democrat Party now?
So we have two chairs because we are a joint committee with Manassas Park. We've got Marcy Settle, who is just stepped down as the ARB chair. She is the Manassas City resident. And then Yessi Amaya, who is on Manassas Park's governing board, is the vice chair or co-chair. Excuse me, not vice chair. They are co-chairs.
I see.
And they took office back in, I want to say, January. We had to do our bylaws and the annual review of party, et cetera.
Right.
So they are our co-chairs.
Because I interviewed your previous two co-chairs.
Cheryl and Gretchen.
Yep. Is Gretchen not involved anymore?
No, Gretchen is actually still involved. She is kind of in emeritus status, and she's in charge of signs this year. So she will be helping get all the signs out for all the candidates.
Yeah, that was entertaining. I knew Cheryl she was in my Rotary Club as well.
Lovely lady.
Yeah, Cheryl was cool. She was mad at me because when she was president of the Rotary Club, I didn't go to very many meetings because I think it was like after COVID and everything was a mess. And, it just, there were almost no good days immediately after COVID, other than the fact that COVID kind of stopped being a thing. And I know Marcy. Maybe I'll reach out to her because I think it's interesting that the way that the different parties run things.
Mm-hmm.
The Democrats, the last several cycles, have run as a ticket, and Republicans never have in the city. It was always, every man for themselves. That was it. And there was never really like a platform that the Republicans came up with in a concerted, intentional way.
Right.
Do the Democrats do any of that kind of stuff?
So, as I said, prior to Sonia deciding to run for delegate, we had, with Jill and I and Sonia had decided to run as a slate. When she stepped away, Jill and I debated, did we stay as a twofer or because at that point, Helen declared like March 16th. So it was a little bit of transition time. And we decided, no, we would run. We had made some strategic decisions and some other things. So we said, no, we'll run as independents or our own campaigns, but where we can collaborate, we'll collaborate.
That makes sense.
So that's where we are right now.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't think you're going to find a serious challenge for Sonia.
I have not seen anything. The 24th is the last day to declare from a Democratic position whether or not there's going to be a caucus. So the state made the decision that the parties choose the candidates as opposed to holding a special election. They said, you parties go figure it out, duke it out amongst yourselves, come up with your candidate. And so the Democrats, there was a gentleman who was exploring whether or not to run against Sonia. He ultimately determined he was not going to pursue that path, but the party did set up a caucus date of a day in August. But July 24th is the date that has to, folks have to make the determination. Soon. Yeah, whether or not they're running and whether or not that caucus will be necessary. So
yeah, I don't know how. I mean, I think she can raise money like mad, and it's a blue district. It's not going to be, well, it leans. No, it's Democratic district.
Yeah, she's according to VPAP, she's got some serious money in hand. And she's got some great endorsements from both union organizations, local politicals, community leaders. So she's a known quantity. She's been doing the work. So
yeah. Well, anything else?
I don't know. What's your last question of the day? The thought thinker.
I don't know. I mean, I try and bring everybody on here and talk about them. You know, what did you do? Where do you come from? Stuff like that. And I don't try and trap people in questions. I think you asked me what are we going to talk about? And I try and give everybody, I don't have a list of questions. And if you look at any of my social media, asking about affordable housing and raising taxes is not a shock.
No,
it's one of the things that I talk about.
No, and actually, I wasn't really concerned about your questions because, as a journalist, you're not going to tip your hand. You're going to kind of say, these are the kind of topics that are going around. I'm hearing at the coffee pod or the cattleman's cattleman's breakfast or whatever else. Right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so, bringing those questions forward and having that conversation.
Plus, there's 20 episodes of this already. If you don't watch 2 or 3 of them, you're like, oh, all right, well, we're just going to talk about it.
Yeah,
because that's what we do.
At the end of the day, I ran into Mr. Parrish at Katerina's, and I've been on handshaking, hugging agreement with Hal. I don't know anyone who isn't, right? And turned around to say hello, how are you? And he says, how are you doing? I said, well, you may have heard I'm running for office. And he said, really? And I said, I'd really love your vote. And he looked at me and I said, I promise it won't hurt. So, and I guess that's the takeaway is I promise it won't hurt to vote.
Yeah. Hal's, when I was in elected office, Hal has this skill that I've always been envious of. And that is he can go to any event and spend 10 minutes there. And somehow or other, every person in the room is convinced that he spent 5 minutes with them and they shook hands and they chatted for a while. He had 50 people there. Hal's out of there in 20 minutes. It's just, I could never do it. I always felt, that I just wasn't getting it done. But man, he had that skill nailed.
Yeah, he's got the grip. He knows how to do the grinning grip. And
he does.
And as I said to a friend of mine after I said, I asked, Hal for his vote. I said, you don't get what you don't ask for.
Well, no.
So why not?
I challenged him for mayor.
Oh, I don't remember that.
In a Republican shootout.
Okay. I don't remember that. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I was pretty sure I had, the reason I ran for office is to do things. I'm not very much interested. One of my favorite things is you can get anything done as long as you don't worry about who gets the credit. That's very much my belief. And we weren't getting stuff done. And part of it was Great Recession, but not all of it. Some of it was policy stuff. And so I decided I was going to run against Hal. And I mean, it was a mistake. He didn't invite me to his Christmas party that year. But, after a month or two, he and I sat down and had a drink and just hashed it out and we moved forward. And, he understood what I was trying to get done and he enabled some of that. So, it was worth it. But I don't know that I would do it again. People were telling me this guy, his old man, they're a dynasty. What is wrong with you? And I don't know. It's very good. I remember my time working with Hal very fondly. He was a good guy, easy to work with. Not difficult. Sometimes the answer was no, but enough of the times the answer was yeah. So, yeah. So, did you ever stop by a cattleman meeting?
I have not stopped by a cattleman meeting.
Yeah.
But I was talking with TJ Rodriguez over at Georgetown South, and he says, you should call Andy, which is what set me in motion to reach out to you and have this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, the cattlemen are an interesting group. That was a group that was started, and I hate to keep saying this, but when I was in office, I had coffee every Friday morning at Ground Central. And I put something on Facebook and I said, look, if you got something you want to talk about, stop by. And people did. And then Jimmy Lunsford, I don't know if you know Jimmy or not.
I know the name.
Yeah. When I got out of politics, I just punched out. But there was still a group that met there and Jimmy sort of kept that flame alive. And it's still, I don't make many of them because I go out of town every weekend, but Friday afternoon, they'll get together and have a drink. And then Saturday morning, they get together and have coffee and sandwich or whatever.
Yeah.
And The name was actually given to us by a woman I went to high school with. And she was, walking by one morning and she called us the Cattlemen. And, there's always been a question about what the Cattlemen do. That's a little shakier. We keep the cows out of the streets. And people say, well, there aren't any cows. And we're like, right.
Success.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Define your criteria. You meet them, you're good.
Yeah. It's a good group. Very diversified, backgrounds. TJ, who's been an officer for years, he comes by there. Sometimes the chief stops by. But
Rex Parr.
Rex goes. Yeah. Rex is. I've known Rex for a while. I haven't talked to him recently since he's moved out to. I mean, that's outside of Manassas. I can't go.
But they come in frequently.
They do. But yeah, no, Rex. He's also a member of. There's another group in Manassas called the CEO Forum that meets once a month. We don't meet during the summertime, but there's a speaker and we talk about business challenges and stuff like that. Rex has been a member of that for years as well. Rex is smart. Rex knows how things work. And I enjoy chatting with him. Yeah. But, you have lawyers in there. We only allow 2. That's enough. And then just other guys that do a lot of different things. So it's we don't have a lot of rules. I think there's 2 or 3. But yeah, it's a lot of fun.
You need Vegas rules at a minimum.
Yeah, it can't be very much. That crowd's not going to stand for a lot of rules. Well, hey, look, I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, it's been great.
I'm going to try and get your other Democrat folks to come in and chat with me. It's a pretty easy conversation. It's not like it ever gets too pointed because I don't want that. Because when you get too pointed, people don't want to come back.
That's right.
Like, screw Harrover. Last time he was yelling at me or whatever. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, well, if all things goes well, put it on your calendar. I'll come back in a year and I'll tell you about my first year in council.
You're on. Thanks for your time.
Thanks. It's been fun.
All right.